I could change the thread a little bit here because I
Sure.
just got back from Japan, and it was a combined ophthalmology meeting between Chinese and Japanese ophthalmologists. It was very interesting to be there. I talked to a lot of researchers, mainly from China, but also in Japan. Hiroko was there, Dr. Hiroko, who was the author of the 10-year study on the famous 10-year study on ortho-K safety and efficacy. So it's a pretty famous gathering. Uh, and my background is computer vision syndrome. Okay, even as old as ortho-K is, I was also taught computer vision syndrome to doctors, teaching how to use computers, ergonomics, and the rest of this thing. So this has always been a big deal to me. And the other fact that I want to throw out there is the fact that most doctors, maybe I'm wrong and people could call me on it. Most doctors don't do near point testing. All right. So I am concerned, and these concerns were actually quantified in Japan. They were actually answered by some researchers that they're legitimate. That what are we doing actually to the visual system here? My site has plus in it to create the defocus. So I'm giving plus to the patient when they do near point. Ortho-K develops a plus add when they take the lenses off. So they're also getting help for near point. 70% of people, kids or adults who spend 2 hours or more on computers get computer vision syndrome. And what am I doing with this lens now that's using a distance only prescription? Okay, because the prisms don't do any plus, they're just defocus. So I'm giving this patient a minus lens to look through. And particularly in low myopes, my experience with low myopes has been with patients that they take their glasses off when they want to read. And there's a good reason for that. They can see better up close. So you'll see a lot of low myopes back in the day when there were single vision lenses prescribed, didn't wear their glasses because they had to do a lot of reading and they hurt. Actually, eyes had to focus harder. We had experiences in this conference where doctors were talking about the fact that the kids were telling them they're using atropine and the spectacles. They said they couldn't see their paper. They couldn't read the questions on the paper. They had to back off some of these prescriptions, because they're actually, atropine lowers your accommodative facility, and Stellus doesn't have a reading ad. So, there's going to be patients that are going to be fine with this, but there's other patients that won't be. And unfortunately, most of our colleagues don't do near point testing. How are they even going to know, what we're actually doing to these visual systems? The docs here on this panel, I have no problem with. The docs in the academy, I have no problem with. A lot of the docs in the, around there that show those concerns, I know they're going to do the right, take care of these problems. But as in China, that people should be aware of this. People don't need a prescription to get these lenses. Okay, glasses, spectacle lenses are not controlled. Patients can walk up and get anything they want with, a script. They can have their eyes checked, just a refraction. So they're getting fit here in China with a lot of no follow-up at all. Who knows if they're even working. And the last comments I'll make on this thing is one of the researchers I talked to said they think, they first start out that they think we have an ethnic problem with this thing. He said, because our findings, our results, these are the researchers, they're taking actual findings, don't match the results that you're talking about. They're not seeing it in their test results with these lenses. They're not seeing those results. And they think maybe it's an ethnicity problem. I don't think so. I think it's a compliance issue. I think these kids are not wearing the glasses. And David could speak to this because he's experienced. But
yeah, definitely, David.
These are my concerns with this product.
Yeah, Kerry, that near point concern you have was real for us during COVID because we were able to get some of the lens lines before COVID. So we had kids in them. And then we couldn't see the kids during COVID, and we follow up with these kids, and the prescriptions and axial lengths just went through the roof, and we couldn't figure it out. And, we kind of scratched our heads, and we said, you know what, the kids that have catapulted in terms of their axial lengths are like the -1s, -150s, because those are the kids that without the glasses on, the computer was perfect.
Right.
So for 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, other than going out of the house, they didn't wear their glasses, so they weren't getting any treatment. So that's one thing we've realized with the compliance. And I think Esler and all the other companies are very, very sort of adamant about compliance. Esler in their paper that they sent out to all the members, I think they said minimum 10 hours a day. The studies were 12 hours or more. So you have to counsel the patients. It's full time. Don't tell them at least 10 hours. You do that, you're going to do 8. You say it's from the minute you get up to the minute you go to bed every single day. That's when you have to wear them. So compliance was and is still a huge issue. So if I see a kid come in with the spectacle lenses and axial lengths are going faster than what I expect, you got to check the compliance, 100%.
David, I thought that this is kind of the gorilla in the room here. Um, First off, okay, we're focusing so much on axial length changes, and for a good reason. We've got a myopia epidemic, but we have visual function to talk about as well. Are we doing, we need to consider both aspects. And if we're exposing a child who's doing she's on a computer screen for 6, 8 hours, more and more, cell phones held within, you know, very close to the eye, and we're doing this to a patient, and we're intentionally causing their focusing to even be more of a problem for them. Is this really a good idea? I mean, certain patients can handle this, other patients can't. I mean, if you were to say, okay, let's do vision training on them, let's take care of this other problem, let's do rehab, but that's not going to happen. And I'm worried about the fact that, given this product out there right now, that there's going to be a lot of abuse. We're just going to make this thing worse for these kids who are already on computers too much to begin with.
Yeah, you're probably right. Like we are seeing that in Canada right now. I don't know what the legislation is in the US, but optometrists and opticians can dispense all these products. And, not to say anything bad about my optician colleagues, but the independent optician does no follow-up. That's a fact. I mean, it's not a perfect solution, but it's a pretty darn good one. I don't want to, put any sort of bad light on it. I've used the spectacles, I would say, for exactly the kids that can't wear ortho-K or they're not ready for it. I would say, we monitored a number of our spectacle patients, and for some reason, it kind of hovers around 10%, 15% of all our myopia management cases. It doesn't grow from there. And again, we went back and we're looking at the numbers, and I'm talking to my manager. I said, like, we're fitting a ton of them. They're not like growing. They're always like the same percentage of all the cases we have. What's going on? And she goes, oh, you always flip them to ortho-K when the time's right. So you're always going to lose. They always convert from a spectacle myopia patient to an ortho-K patient when it's time. So, and I checked with all the other doctors, and pretty much all the other doctors in my office do the same thing. So spectacles allows us to start treatment much earlier. A lot of moms and dads don't want to use atropine. They don't like the medicine word, but they're okay with glasses. And that's where we've kind of seen it. It's sort of morphed its own position now. It's just happened organically. So 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, they'll start in the spectacles. And once they get 7, 8, 9, and they're ready, they move into ortho-K. So it's actually grown our ortho-K practice because now we're able to handle kids at a younger age.
If you're interested in getting the rest of the episode, consider becoming a paid supporter of the Myopia Mindset. In addition to an extended version of this episode and every other episode that we do, you'll also get access to exclusive monthly bonus episodes of the Myopia Mindset. And I know you're interested. You've made it this far. You can do so on our Substack, myopia-mindset.substack.com. I'll see you at the next one.